Jesse Lee.
What have they done to make America better? To add to it to make it better? Can you name me one thing?
Well, like we built a lot.
What?
We built a lot of stuff.
I'm talking about in the last 70 years.
Oh, in the
or
last
so.
70 years?
Not,
That's
yeah,
a good
since
question.
the 70 right.
Yeah.
Since the civil rights movement.
Like a leader. What leader?
What has the blacks have done to make America better?
Generally speaking.
Yeah. Can you name me one thing?
Peterson absolutely crushes this podcaster's worldview and leaves her speechless when asked the simple question of what black people have done to make America better, as Jesse Lee Peterson debates this woman about race in America and stuns her with this shocking revelation. Let's get in.
The blacks are getting worse. This generation is worse than the last generation and the last generation.
Do you think so?
Yeah. They are killing each other. They're
But do you
robbing
think it's in the same numbers? Because I think you're right. I think where it's worse. Like in the bad parts, it's worse.
Yeah.
But we also have more upwardly mobile black Americans these days than ever before.
What's that?
The black middle class
Oh.
is expanding. So where that used to be pretty limited, it's growing. We're not at parity with our peers, like our Asian or our white peers, but there's more of them. There's more of, I should say us. I would be one of them, middle class, but there's more.
They won't accept you. They're not going to accept you. You got too much white in you.
Oh, no.
What was it like?
No.
What
You're
was it-
wrong. You're wrong. See, I'm as black as the first black president, so
I thought
none
you
of that
talking to
matters
them,
anymore.
But let me ask, growing up as a white girl, black girl, was that difficult for you?
Yeah, I think times were way different then, right? These days, it feels like not that strange to see a biracial kid running around.
Yeah, it's different now.
Right. But when my parents were married, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there was one time where my parents were separated at the border because my mother was this blonde white Canadian woman and my father, and he was also a musician too. He had dreadlocks, bare feet, just the stereotypical dirty hippie. And they separated them, and when they had to separate, they had to leave each other at the border. And growing up
This
in
is
rural
from Canada to America, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And growing up in rural Canada, it was very difficult. There's a lot of racial abuse. There's a high black population in Canada because that's where the Underground Railroad came out.
Yeah.
So we're very aware of that history. But I lived in a farming community. It was pretty brutal. And then when I would go to Washington, D.C. and be with my peers there, then I was not black enough, that would be,
Right.
well, you sound strange, you don't look the same. So yeah, I guess it was difficult, but I think in the end it was, I have a very solid sense of identity these days.
Was forced integration good or bad?
Forced integration, like
Yeah.
in the 60s, like
Yeah.
in the civil rights?
When they start making the
Bad.
white people and the black people
Bad.
live together?
Bad. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Great. This is a perfect transition because we were just talking about my childhood experience.
Right.
All right. So when I was 13, I went to middle school in Washington, D.C. Stuart Hobson Middle School on Capitol Hill. It's right behind the Heritage Foundation, right? It's still there to this day. We lived right across the street. Well, Stuart Hobson Middle School was part of a group of schools on Capitol Hill called the Capitol Hill Cluster. And there was an experimental cluster of public schools because Washington, D.C. at that time, and still is known as the Chocolate City, is mostly black, mostly poor population. Somebody got the big idea that, well, if we just shipped in white rich kids, then we could integrate the schools. The schools would get better if we bust in
They
white
did it
kids
in Alabama too.
from the suburbs. So they asked for a lot of volunteers. Some white parents stepped up. The year I started school there was the year we began the busing program, and it was an absolute failure. The white kids in our schools were brutalized.
Yep.
I often wonder where those kids ended up. I mean brutalized, where some kids were sent to the hospital because gangs would come into the school and pick them out and beat them up. And I will never forget, 13 years old, this is burned in my brain. For whatever reason, I was at a community forum. The school was right across from my house, so maybe I was bored and I went there. Lucy, I think her last name was Campbell, Lucy Campbell's mom came in, and Lucy was the student council president, this little white girl that they had bussed in, and her mom was some hippie who was really proud to be a part of this busing program, and she came in and she said, I feel like a hypocrite and a bigot, but how can I send my child to this school anymore? And she's being brutalized every day. I signed on for this program thinking I was doing something good, doing the right thing. And it's been nothing but heartache and abuse. I'll never forget that. So no, forced integration is a mistake, because it's always a mistake, I believe, to work against the tribal instincts of people. Now, this is the glory of Christ, right? Yeah. This is the beauty of Christ, is that our tribe is eclectic and diverse because we gather under the flag of a king, not a race. Yeah. So that's what's amazing about Christianity, is that we so many different cultures can fall under one flag. But when you're talking about earthly tribalism, no, people can integrate. They do it well when they're able to do it in their own time and in their own way. We do it. Yeah. We do it just fine.
I believe had we never had forced integration, America would be greater than what it is now.
I totally agree. As a matter of fact, a great example of that is Las Vegas in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. A lot of people think we legislated our way out of the Civil Rights Movement. We absolutely did not. One of the biggest things that happened was commerce, the economy. So in Vegas, the performers like Ella Fitzgerald and Sammy Davis Jr. couldn't perform on certain stages or couldn't walk in the front door with the Rat Pack like Frank Sinatra. Right. Eventually, guys like Sinatra said, I'm not playing here anymore if you guys don't clean this up. Like, yeah, I want Sammy Davis Jr. to use the pool. You know, I want him to walk in the front door with me because he's a performer. Right. That's when things started to shift. When we paid an economic price for bigotry. Yeah. Right?
You mentioned your white friend. When I went to Edison High School in Gary, I had my first white friend. I had never had a white friend before, even though I was fine with white people. But I had a white friend, and they lived right across from Edison High School, right across the street. And because at one time, Edison was black. I mean, white, mostly white. And then it turned black. But what happened was I had this white friend, really good guy, and they turned the school when the mayor, this first black mayor became the mayor. And that very next day, the blacks started attacking the white kids in the hallways and the classrooms and things like that. And it got so bad that his family just jumped up and moved. They just left. And I haven't seen him yet. He didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. They just took off, and I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, folks, it's always the narrative that, you know, it's white people abusing black people and they're on the defensive. It's been that narrative for a very, very long time. But these stories between these two people, these are horrible. And my own mom, you know, from the time that she was back then, about the 60s, she's got similar stories of the same thing in schools where people just got up and left. Like, it's always a one-way narrative in the mainstream, in the political cycle, all of that. But you know, it doesn't matter. People are going to hurt each other one way or another. And this still happens today. There are still schools going on today where white kids are just getting beat up and brutalized, but it doesn't get nearly the same kind of attention. Not from news, not from mainstream, not from anything like that. They always downplay. It's always a narrative that they try to push while ignoring the reality that there are all sorts of other victims of the racial divide, and that's unfair to them just the same. If you're really going to talk about protecting people, protecting victims, you should extend that across for everybody, but that's not what's going on. With the key example currently going on the news cycle of Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. You can see how they're trying to portray all of that, and yet everyone else absolutely sees that they're being gaslit by a fake narrative. It's insane, folks. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. It helps the algorithm. I really appreciate it, and let's get back in.
But I know that too many white people are getting beat up, white kids, by the blacks. Can you tell me one good thing that has helped America that the black leadership has done, the black politicians, the governors, or anyone as a group? What have they done to make America better, to add to it to make it better? Can you name me one thing?
Well, like we built a lot.
What?
We built a lot of stuff.
I'm talking about in the last 70 years.
Oh, in
or
the last
so.
70 years?
Not,
That's
yeah,
a good
since
question.
the 70 right.
Yeah.
Since the civil rights movement.
Like a
what had
leader.
been-
What leader,
What has the blacks have done to make America better?
generally speaking?
Yeah. Can you name me one thing?
I think this is very subjective. I can't. My podcast is a critical thinking podcast. I'm always thinking through the arguments when you ask me a question.
Right.
But I'm thinking about what the people would say to me. People would say, well, yeah, they've done plenty of good things. There's more black women in college than ever. There's higher rates of higher education. Maybe we would say, well, we have more black people represented in Congress, more black people represented in whatever, pick your thing. So I feel like the arguments would be that. I guess to that imaginary argument, I might say, well, what was the original premise of the question, which is is it better that schools are full of black educated women? As a black educated woman, I don't think so. I don't think the results have been that stellar,
So you can't think of one
I'm
thing
trying.
that
I'm really like
the
I'm
blacks
thinking
have
about what
done.
I'm only thinking about what the arguments would be. I'm trying to think of what would I say if I was going to point to somebody and say, "Look what we changed." Music.
Music.
Even as ditties. But don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started on, with
Right.
my tinfoil hat stuff and what music's been doing to
So
us.
you're not able to think of one good thing that
As a whole, as a community. Because I can think of great black people, obviously.
as the
As a
black
whole.
leadership, the politicians, the whatever they are, you can't think of one thing that they've done good that for all America that would help all America. I haven't met anyone yet who can think of anything good that blacks have done to make America better.
What about whites? What have whites done? Like, what would you say? What would be the answer to that question?
But just to get it clear, you can't think of one thing that blacks
No,
have done.
I didn't. Yes.
Did you know that they had not done anything to make America better, have not added to the country?
I've been pretty.
Isn't that amazing?
No, it's not something that I've sat down and thought about, but this is obviously something that I fight about every day in one way or another, which is, I basically said as much when I said, why are we normal? What are we normalizing? Why don't we have any men that come out and immediately say X,
Right.
Y, Z? Well, even I could say, one thing I say is, when have you ever seen Barack Obama ever come out and hold a lecture and give me the step-by-step, 1 through 10, here's how you get to where I am. Young black men,
They
here's
never do that.
Right. Well, we know that he couldn't do that anyway because he was a total Manchurian candidate. But my point is that
Yeah.
these people at the top who tell us we only need this one more piece as a community and then we'll be good, that we'll have whatever it is, we need reparations or we need CRT, whatever the thing is, there's always somebody at the top, like an Oprah. LeBron James has been on my mind a lot lately, and I don't know why, but
What a mess.
something's going on with him. But none of these people ever say, you know what? Here is my 10-step program to how I got from where you are, little black kids, to where I am today. I
don't
did it.
tell
You
you how
can
to
do
do
it.
it.
Step one, no, they never tell you. Do you know why? Because they got there by selling out the way you'll have to get there by selling out, because the only way to get to the top is to sell out to somebody.
What a mess.
I think that's an interesting question that Jesse Lee Peterson asked, whether or not, any black Americans in the last 70 years since the civil rights movement have actually done anything for America as a whole. I mean, it may be hard to think about, maybe hard to look at, but that tells you where the leadership, where the governing body has what they've done. That you've done 70 years and you haven't really done anything for America, but that's the Democrats. And I think it's a very interesting point that this woman brought up, and that you have all of these, Oprah Winfrey's and the LeBrons and all that, all the names and faces and influencers and stuff like that. And you've always seen people who, tell you how to get to where they are. They try to help you. They try to teach. They try to pass on the knowledge. None of these people ever do that. They never go into detail, like the real details you need to know, where to go, who to talk to, what to do, all of that stuff. Those important things, they never do that. No, I think she's absolutely right. All of them have sold out in one way or another to get to the top. And that's why there's nothing to teach, because when these younger people hit that crossroads, they're going to be confronted with the same moral and ethical choice that that they did. And if they want to get to the top, unfortunately, they might have to. I don't know. But it's really interesting to think about the fact that all of these people who are the names, who try to sell you on everything, never actually try to help you as individuals to overcome your current circumstances and end up like them. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Jesse Lee Peterson had to say, leaving this woman absolutely speechless with this simple question. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.